Hey class, welcome to Human Rights Policing, Sociology 333, where we're offering this class this semester online. I developed this class from scratch, and so I developed it about 2 or 3 years ago. And so I think this is my second or third time offering the class. I also teach police officers from around the United States how to apply human rights to their police work. And as you well know, I've written a book on this topic as well with my father. Um, and so I first started teaching human rights policing to police officers to train them how to apply human rights. Um, and then I decided that I wanted to, since this is the Department of Sociology and Criminal Justice, that I want to teach human rights policing to budding uh, criminologists or people that want to work with at-risk youth or people that want to work in criminal justice or people that want to work in the field of psychology. Actually, it really applies to people that want to work in many different fields, especially in those types of fields where human rights is most important. And that's certainly human rights is most important when we think about our criminal injustice system in the United States. We think about the prison industrial complex in the United States. We think about law enforcement in the United States, from local beat cops to federal police. And this is exactly where we need human rights in our society. So hopefully you'll get a lot out of this class, and whatever positions that you occupy in your life with jobs or careers or whatever position of power that you have, you'll have the ability to impart human rights into the institution that you work for. And hopefully you will be one of those few human beings that actually use this class to help fight for human rights wherever you think that they belong. I also developed a human rights and criminal justice undergraduate certificate program. And so I made it a lot easier to get that certificate. And the most important thing you really have to do is take this human rights policing class. And then there's a couple other classes that you can take. There's a wide variety of them. So I would encourage all of you to get your certificate that'll go along with your bachelor's degree, get your certificate in human rights and criminal justice. And I think that could help you go a long way with things like graduate school and getting jobs and things of that nature. Okay, I'm gonna go over the syllabus with you and a little bit of the class, and that's really about it. Notice when you go through, first, go through the syllabus and go through the open Canvas modules. Everything that you need to know is in those Canvas modules. All the due dates, everything you need to know is also in the syllabus. So I've laid it all out there for you. Everything's extremely straightforward. All the dates are there. All you have to do is pay attention, look at it, read it. It's there. And so again, check your emails weekly, look at the syllabus for due dates, for anything that you have to read, look at our syllabus schedule, and also look at Canvas module for announcements and also the actual modules where I post everything you need to know. Including in every module, sometimes I'll have a video. I'll always have an introduction that says exactly what we're doing that week. And sometimes I'll have a written lecture or I'll have a video lecture, and we'll have discussion boards. But I'm going to take you through that in a moment. If you want to meet with me virtually on the phone or in person, send me an email. It's important to send me an email. Even though I hold office hours at 12:30 to 2:05, oftentimes I meet students like at the Murphy Library coffee shop on campus. And so don't just assume that I'm going to be in my office. If you want to meet with me, schedule an email or send me an email, and we can meet at a mutually convenient time. Again, either on a phone, on Zoom, or in person. And my email address is right on the syllabus. I also have some websites, professional websites you can look at of mine. Check out the course description. Since I'm the one who made this class, I thought of it, conceived of it, taught it, produced it, did it all from scratch, all mine. I wrote the course description, and so check it out. I try to write the course descriptions in ways that are an honest kind of assessment of what the class is all about. And of course, check out your course objectives. Required books. One of them is Marina. My father was a police officer in New Orleans. By the way, he was a police officer actually in the French Quarter. You'll read more about it here, but it was a narcotics detective for a while, where he did a lot of undercover work. He worked in a SWAT team, things of that nature. Worked with DEA as well, Drug Enforcement Agency. but eventually got promoted to lieutenant platoon commander of the Vucare district in the French Quarter of New Orleans. So he has tons of experience. And I've also, I come from a police family. I'm a sociologist and a criminologist. I've written a couple of books and a bunch of articles in the field of criminology. And along with my father, like I said before, I train police officers how to apply human rights to their jobs. And so I think you will enjoy the course. Okay, let's see, what else do I want to say? Okay, so the first required book is Human Rights Policing, Reimagining Law Enforcement in the 21st Century. And the other one for background into human rights is Jack Donnelly's Human Rights in Theory and Practice. So check those out. Check out your weekly agenda as well. But I'm basically going to go over it now with you. Grading is straightforward. I have it all there for you in the syllabus. You have a midterm report. The midterm report is going to be a 5-page report. Basically, it's going to be like a series of questions that I ask you, more like essay questions, that have to do with the readings, that have to do with applying human rights to criminal justice or to policing, things of that nature. And it's also going to ask for updates on your class final project. So that midterm is worth 80 points. Then we'll have weekly discussion boards that are worth 120 points total for the whole semester. And so there are 3 postings minimum for each discussion board. 1 original response that's always due on Thursday of the corresponding week, and 2 in-depth response posts that are due on Friday of the corresponding week. But always check the schedule. There might be an exception, so always check the syllabus. But on most weeks, your original reply post is due Thursday, and both of your your original post is due on Thursday, and both your reply posts are due on Friday. There's a total of 10 discussion boards throughout the semester. Each post is worth 4 points. That's 12 points per discussion board, which equals 120 total points for all 10 discussion boards throughout the semester. And I even provide a rubric on the syllabus on how to maximize the points that you earn on the discussion board. But the main thing that you need to know, and this is where students lose points, your reply post should be just as thorough and just as elaborate as the original post. So in other words, be creative. Those reply posts should be creative, and it should add something new to the discussion. Not simply, gee, Billy, I really like your comment. That was very insightful. That's not adding anything. That's not helping anything. We're not learning anything that way. So we want people to be creative, to be critical, and to add something new to the conversation and the discussion. And so, again, make sure that your reply posts are just as elaborate as your original posts. And all of your posts, original and reply posts, should use stories and examples to illustrate your points and substantiate your arguments. So that's how you'll maximize your points. Easy points, so long you do it that way. And then you'll have a class project, your class project final report, and that's worth 200 points. So altogether, the midterm report is 80 points, the discussion board 120 points, that's 200, and then that final class project makes up the last 200 for a total of 400 points. And so in that class final project, I already have the instructions for that on the syllabus, and I have it on Canvas already. So it'd be good for you to already become familiar with that final report, because you're going to be working on this class project from the very beginning. In fact, the very first discussion board has you talking about what you're going to do for this project. And so this for this project, you're going to use secondary sources like newspapers, historical archives, magazines, various sources like that, books, articles, journals, whatever. There's also the Lacrosse Historic Society. You can use that as well. But you're going to use secondary sources to talk about how law enforcement can better apply human rights to the communities that they serve. And you can pick a particular type of community that you want to focus on. Do you want to focus on an immigrant community in the city? And of course, you can focus on immigrants in general, or a specific group in general, or you can focus on a specific group in a particular place like Chicago or La Crosse or Minneapolis or Milwaukee or wherever you want. And so, again, you're going to conduct a project using secondary sources. That means no interviewing people, nothing like that, nothing like that. Uh, but using secondary sources to talk about how law enforcement, how police officers can better apply human rights to the communities that they serve. And your focus can be on whatever type of community actors you want, whether it's immigrants, at-risk youth, LGBTQ plus community, Black community, Hispanic community, Asian community, or the poor and disadvantaged community, disabled community, whatever you think is most interesting. It could even be victims of domestic violence. In other words, how can police better serve those communities? How can police better apply and protect the human rights of the people in those communities? What resources do those communities are those communities missing? What has been their relationship with the police? What are their focal concerns? What are their struggles? What are their structural conditions that they have to deal with and face? And how can police protect their human rights? How can police better serve them? How can police be a better resource for them? Your paper will be basically a policy analysis that will make a conclusion talking about how police can better serve a specific community that you're interested in. And so, again, the paper will end with policy recommendations on how police can better serve that community that you're focusing on. Again, always with that focus of human rights. So it'll be a 15 to 20 page double-spaced paper that's not counting references. And there you go. And so you'll be working on that paper throughout the semester. And we'll be talking about that paper in the discussion boards, and certainly the book, Human Rights Policing, that'll help you think about this idea of human rights. And so as you're reading the book and you're learning more about human rights and how to apply human rights, you can start to take what you're learning from the book and from our class discussions and start using that to think about how to apply human rights to the specific community that you want to focus on in your final paper. Other course requirements in the syllabus, check it out yourself: attendance, reading assignments, writing assignments, participation. Just know that any late assignments, I just don't grade them unless we work it out like a week or two in advance if you're going to turn in something late. Otherwise, anything that's late, I just don't grade. Best way to avoid that is just pay attention to the due dates. It's all listed there in the syllabus. And I even put that in the introduction modules every single week. So just follow the due dates and you'll be fine. All right, let me go through a little bit of the class schedule. Right now, this first week is the Introduction to Human Rights. So really you can read the first chapter of the book if you want to, or at least you can kind of read if you want. If you want, you can read the acknowledgments. I always make it a point to write the acknowledgments in the book. And then you can read, I think, a preface from the second author, Lieutenant Pedro Marina, retired. And then I would encourage you to read that introduction there. And he has a story, Suicide by Cop, a code 2 call in New Orleans Police Department. That's when my father answered a suicide by cop call. So I think you'll like that story. You might want to read that first chapter if you want. We're really not getting into the book until week 3, but if you want to start reading that first chapter, you can. But if not, you can wait till week 3. But basically, the goals of the class is to figure out, how can police apply human rights to the communities that they serve, right? And the book's all about that. Your class project is all about that. But you're going to be the one who actually invents policy that we can use, and that some of your papers that you write that can inform me as I'm teaching police officers and helping them or training them how to apply human rights. So the things that you learn in your final papers, those are things that also inform me that I can use in my instruction towards police officers and helping them apply human rights to specific communities. So your policy analysis, your final papers are going to teach me and help me inform police officers on how to better apply human rights. So in other words, your class project isn't just for a grade. It can actually do some good in this world. It could actually help police officers better serve people. And most cops really want to. Speaking of, by the way, I think I should say this immediately, that this class is not a critique on police officers. This class is a critique in part at least, a critique on the institution of law enforcement and the institution of policing. This is not an indictment on any individual police officer. It's important not to collapse the institution to the individual. An institution can be evil, but the people that are part of that institution are not equally evil. They're not equally as evil as that institution. You can have good people that work in bad institutions. And so our critique of law enforcement is not a critique on police officers. Now, of course, with police officers, police officers are there's good people on both sides of the law. There's wonderful police officers and there's rotten scumbag police officers. There's wonderful criminals and there's rotten scumbag criminals. So just because you're a cop or a criminal doesn't mean you're a good person or a bad person. That has nothing to do with anything. The most important part that we consider in this class, it doesn't matter if you're a far right winger and a Trumper or some far leftist or a communist or a far liberal or some wokeist, or if you're some libertarian or an anarchist or whatever the hell you are, it doesn't matter. The only thing that we're concerned with is helping police and law enforcement in general apply human rights to the community they serve. And I think people on all sides of the political spectrum can get behind that. So in that way, I'm not ideological, I'm not liberal, I'm not conservative, I'm none of those things. I'm against pretty much all views and all forms of the political spectrum. The only concern that I have is how can we better apply human rights to society? How can we put human rights front and center in all of our social institutions and all of our social policies? And how about starting that with policing? Probably the most unlikely place where you're going to find human rights in society is in policing and a criminal justice system. And if we can make human rights policing a reality, if we can make human rights a reality in policing and in the criminal justice system, well, we have done something, haven't we? We've actually accomplished something very rare in human society. Okay, so that's the goals of the class, which also outlined in the first chapter of the book. Yeah, and we've covered the syllabus and your requirements for this course. We're doing the student introductions now. Today and tomorrow, I'll be commenting on all of your welcomes that you've made. So check that out. I'll comment on each one of you. And then this discussion board here, we're talking about in part the human rights policing project of how you're going to apply human rights to that specific community that you want to focus on. So make sure you do that welcome discussion board and that discussion board one for this class. Let me look at that discussion board one real quick here. Oh, hold on. Yeah. Yeah, so you have that introduction discussion board, then discussion board one, where I give you two different parts. Debating controversial topics. And that's just to kind of get our appetites wet to talk about some things about policing. And then part two asks you to start thinking about what community you want to focus on in your project. And again, this class project does not require you to go and do research in the field or in the city or in the community, nothing like that. It's all secondary, using, again, newspaper archives, newspapers, magazines, journals, books, things of that nature. And you want to focus on the type of literature that'll help you understand that community that you want to focus on, their struggles, their challenges, their past experiences with police, things of that nature, to talk about how police can better serve that community. Okay, let me go back to the main page here. I'm going to take you through the syllabus a little bit more. Okay, so week two, there's a video I'm going to show you. It's my video lecture, so it's going to be an online video lecture. It's on the history of policing, and my online video lecture is called "The History of Policing, Capitalism, and Class." And basically, you can't understand policing outside of the dominant economic system. So that'd be silly to even think that one can. Policing is always related to the dominant economic system, and the United States is a class-based society. Almost similar to India's caste society. And so we have a class society here. So you can't understand policing without understanding class. I mean, that's very obvious. And so I lay it all out there in my video lecture. And then discussion board two is all about that video lecture. week three is really when we start the book, Human Rights in Extraordinary Times. So you'll read the first chapter of the book, and then there's a discussion board. Week four, Connecting Human Rights to Policing. That's the next chapter, chapter two. And then we have a discussion board on that. Week five, you have chapter three. It's called Police, Power, Agency, and Human Rights. It's a very important chapter. We also talk about moral panics and the manufacturing of folk devils as a threat to human rights, and we'll have a discussion board on that. Week six, that's the next chapter, chapter four of the book, and we're talking about the sociological imagination and human rights policing. And you'll see that I actually use the sociological imagination in order to talk about how to apply human rights to policing. And there you'll be introduced to the concept of verstehen, or the importance of empathy that's within that sociological imagination. Week seven, you'll have your midterm progress report that's due. It's due March 8th, and you'll have instructions on that, very detailed instructions on that. Week eight, you'll have your spring break. We come back week nine, where we talk about chapter five of the book, getting to know the community Chicago school style. So I think you'll enjoy that chapter where I talk about the women of the Hull House in Chicago. I think we're some of the best American sociologists in the world. We're not the male Chicago school theorists, it was the women of the Hull House. Check them out if you ever get a chance. I write about them in that chapter. Then week 10, I write policy suggestions at the end of the book as it relates to human rights and the future of policing. And so that'd be chapter 6, so check that out. Then we're finished the book by week 11, where we'll talk about the age of mass incarceration. And we'll look at the documentary 13th and have a discussion board on that. Week 12, we'll have a special topic on broken window style policing, and if that's consistent with human rights policing. So I think you'll enjoy that. And then week 13, we'll also have a special topic. And I'll figure something out with a controversial topic of policing in the criminal justice system. There's really a bunch to pick. So I'll pick something that I think is interesting for y'all. And then the last 2 weeks, you're going to be actually presenting your findings of your final paper to class. So you'll be uploading a video, kind of like what I'm doing right now. You'll be uploading a video and commenting on each other's video for this presentation. So last 2 weeks is presentations. And then your final paper is due May 3rd. And all that's there on the syllabus for you. And again, I would encourage all of you to take this class. Not only that, get your human rights and criminal justice certificate as well. Since you're going to be taking this class, might as well get that. Anyway, so that's everything. I hope this introduction helped. Again, if you, I've made this class very student friendly, very straightforward. Everything is detailed for you, structured for you. Just look at the syllabus for everything and then Canvas modules. I developed this class from scratch to make it very student friendly so that you'll get a lot out of this class I like, where you get to do your own independent project. And so I think you'll really enjoy that. Anything you need from me, just reach out. Always send an email. I'm always available for you as your public servant hired by the state of Wisconsin to serve you. So thank you very much, and look forward to seeing all of you on the discussion board. Take care.